Road Break family, how's every single one of you? Today, we still continue in our Royal Rumble weekend, and Jean-Paul and myself, we're once again, and this time, we're going to be talking about NWA Hard Times.
The second pay-per-view. Good show.
Yeah, it was absolutely a great show. A little long, I will say almost like 3 hours. But, you know, we just finished watching. So we're right here with our review, with our thoughts, and everything that, like, happened in this show. So, Jean-Paul, before we start, like always, we want to say thank you to everybody that is watching all of our videos. You know, we have tons of content.
Yep,
we
10 videos this week.
10 videos this week. You probably think we're crazy. Yes, we are. We
Yep.
don't care. We don't care. You see me? No, we don't care. So, let's start, like always, from the beginning. Jean-Paul, how did the show start?
The first match, you had Trevor Murdoch versus Question Mark, so the first match in the tournament, and I was unsure how they were going to do it. I didn't know that the whole tournament, at least like these final matches, were going to be in the show, and I'm thinking, man, this is going to be a long show, but they only had like a 6-7 minute time limit, so they really, you know, they obviously you knew they were going to speed the match along. So then it was, like I said, Trevor Murdoch versus Question Mark, and this was real quick. Question Mark, you know, he kind of dominated a little early on, sent Murdoch shoulder first into the post, took advantage, but then eventually Murdoch made his comeback, and his finisher is like a second rope bulldog, you know, kind of bullshit finisher there, but he hits that once. Question Mark, you know, he no-sells it, sits up, and then he grabs him, hits him a second rope bulldog, puts him away for the win. So like a short opening match, but the crowd, you know, I like Question Mark from the first time when we saw him in Into the Fire. Kind of like that, like, funny gimmick. He does, like, the karate thing. So that's kind of cool. And then I like, you know, the crowd. Well, I don't really care for him too much, but the crowd was, like, really behind Murdoch. So, like, it made it feel, you know, more special than it was.
Yeah, I think that, like, Murdoch is, like, kind of like an NWA, like, own one of their guys, so that's why they're so over him. And probably also, like, they respect his past in WWE. And, like you said, like, his physique, he's not, like, the new breed of professional wrestlers.
Yeah, like we said, he fits that old school, that old style. Like,
you see the big god, you know, like you just see him like just like a big man, but like not really kind of like six pack here. You kind of see like an 18 pack.
You could say he's like the old school tough guy.
Yes, like the tough guy. Like, hey, I'm gonna chop you. I'm gonna like just hit you so hard that you won't be able to get up anymore. And Question Mark, his gimmick is fun, and like his partnership with Aaron Stevens, like Aaron or whatever you want to call it, like it was good. And unfortunately, for me, I would have really liked Question Mark to advance in the tournament, but they went with Murdoch. So
and then we get then another tournament match: Zicky Dice versus Dan Moff, and Dan Moff is from Ring of Honor because they was obviously, if you're following, you know, the storyline and stuff. They're doing a lot of like cross promotion, like almost like not invasions, but I know Nick Aldis. I think he showed up at one of the shows.
Yeah, in a few shows. He showed up in a few shows of Ring of Honor. So you're right. Like they're doing a lot of partnerships. They're collaborating because I think neither one of them are like have like rosters that are really deep.
Yeah.
You know,
so it's a good thing like in this tournament. So obviously we have somebody from Ring of Honor in the tournament, like you said. The roster's not that deep. They need these guys, and that's because they're still in the infancy stage. You know, they're almost like right like Rope Break. You know, like maybe we could help each other out here a little bit.
And we need to collaborate now.
No, I meant with NWA, not these other fools on YouTube.
Yes.
But see, that's the thing. It's like so it's good for them to team up like this. And this match, you know, the crowd was really behind Zicky Dice. He kind of reminds me like not like a pimp, but kind of like a playboy. He comes out all like fancy, and like the crowd's really behind him. He's kind of like when he's walking down, he walked past the television title, he like picked it up, he licked it, and he's like, ooh, you know, and the crowd's like going crazy for him. Yeah, exactly. So I thought this guy was going to win. And then Dan Maff comes out, and I'm like, there's no way. This dude is big, he's strong, he's like Otis mixed with like Bully Ray. Like, you put them together, that's what this guy reminded me of.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, it reminded me of, like, that top, really, really big dude. Like, Otis, but without the nice personality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like Otis when Mandy turns him down.
Yes. When they're about to,
when Ziggler stomped on Mama's cake.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Or, like, when Mandy went drink.
Yeah.
Drink, yeah. We'll elaborate on the drink in one of the videos.
So, a little bit of back and forth, but like I said, the crowd's really behind Dice. Moff, he moves really, like I said, he moves so well for a big guy. You know, I definitely got to check this guy out, some more of his matches. He hits a Snapdragon suplex, you know, eat your heart out, Kenny Omega. And then he hits this huge midair spear on Dice. Dice, I don't know what he was doing. He's like jumping or something. And like Moff just leaves his feet and just like tears this dude in half. He hits a cannonball in the corner and then a running senton for the win. So, like I said, it's just the size difference. There was no way. When he hit that cannonball and then the senton, like, you think Joe senton is, like, looks devastating? This guy, like, crushed him.
You will say that, like, this senton was a lot better than Killian Dane, Joe, you will say Kevin Owens, because, you know, because the size, you know.
Yeah, just because of the size of this guy, and it's, like, sometimes when they hit that, they're hitting it, like, right at the shoulders. I felt like this guy was hitting it, like, down here. Like, he was really, like, laying his weight on you. And, again, it wasn't that long tournament match, you know, 5-6 minutes times they have. None of them were like a buzzer beater. Like in basketball, you know, they shoot it and it's like, the hoop goes right in the hoop. Yeah. None of them were close. They all had a lot of time.
No Hail Mary, none of that.
I think one of them maybe went down to, like, the last minute and a half, but none of them were close. They were real quick. And they got through these matches, which I like, because the main thing we want to see is the finals of the tournament.
Yes, and well, like you said, I thought that, like, they were gonna, like, kind of like the semifinals and the final in the pay-per-view, but I didn't think it was the whole tournament was gonna be in the pay-per-view. So good strategy that they had to go like this. You know, it's like let's go. Yeah,
and then we get Matt Cross and Ricky Starks, and this one was a more, like, if you're, like, a newer fan of wrestling, this was the match for you, because both these guys, small, like, springboard, you know, type moves. It wasn't like the old school, you know, tough beat 'em up. But
this is when we get, like, a cruiserweight type match,
exactly.
You know, like high, like fast pace, you know, like springboard moves, like you said once again.
Yeah, so, like, you know, right here in the notes, I have springboard moves all over the place, super fast pace. Cross hits a handspring back elbow, followed by a springboard cross body, and then a double stomp for a near fall on the Starks. A springboard cutter onto Starks, and then Cross goes up top, but Stark rolls out of the way. And then when he comes down, he's able to catch him and hits the stroke.
The stroke?
The stroke for the win. Like a double... Is that the double underhook face
buster? The underhook, yep. Face buster. Yep. Like a really nice move. If you guys, you know, you remember, like, Awesome Kong used to do that also. And we will say Mandy Rose, but
we said Mandy Rose. Yeah, the belly, we talked about him earlier, his girl, Mandy Rose. So
when she actually wins a match,
and it's a legit finisher. I think.
I think that, for example, like a move like that should be used by somebody that is more legit. Like in this case, Starks.
Yeah,
because like he's good. Like, you know, he is able. I think his character fits him, and he's able to be better.
Yeah, and to go off that, like, I don't think, like, Mandy Rose, she's not bad. But the thing is, she's just not... The whole women's division isn't presented in that good of a light. You know what I mean? So it's like... And she's just like... Everybody just sees, like, she's attractive, and that's just... You know, that's all Vince McMahon sees. Where I'm not saying she's talented as, like, Asuka, Becky Lynch, people like that, but, like, if you give her a chance, I feel like she could be, like, a mid-card kind of... Even though the women's division really doesn't have mid-card people, but she could be, like, that middle of the road.
Yes, absolutely.
But, like, you know, it was a good match, and then... we get a quick announcement from, you know, Stu Bennett. He was talking, and he said he had breaking news, and I thought he was going to be coming back.
You know, Wade Barrett or Stu Bennett, like, we wanted the Bullhammer to come back.
Yeah, I thought he was coming back, but he was announcing the Crockett Cup, April 2020. You know, so that is, you know, for those who don't know, it's a big, like, tag team tournament, almost similar, like, in the vein of the Dusty Classic.
Yes.
So that'll be really cool, and I feel like they're going to bring in a lot of tag teams, probably from Ring of Honor. You know, see, that would be cool because... The Hardy Boys, before all this bullshit was going on with Jeff, both their contracts were up in March. That would have been something cool before they signed with somebody to be in this. Yeah. Even if they don't win it, you know, make it to the finals, put an NWA tag team over. That would have been super legit. But, you know, I'm looking forward to it. And then speaking of tag teams, we get the Rock and Roll Express
tag team champions
versus the Wild Cards versus James Storm and Eli Drake.
That's right. That was my match out of the whole tournament. This was the match that I was really looking for. So take us through, please, Mr. Leek.
So this match, again, like, none of these matches were really that long until we got to the end. And this one was a little shorter than I thought. The Wild Cards, they kind of get dominated early on. Because right from the beginning, there was a show of respect, like, from the Rock and Roll Express and Storm and Drake. They kind of was like, they were the two clear, like, babyface teams in this match. So they were kind of working them over. Eventually, Gibson, he gets sent to the outside, and Camille, she just starts, like, stomping on his face, and every time he tries to, like, get back up, she stomps him. And it was, like, it was a way, you know, because she's with the Wild Cards, and it was like, oh, okay, you know, she's the heel, like, they're all heels, but it was, like, to me, that was just a way to protect him, because, you know, they're old. Like
it was the way...
And we said, we're not, like, shitting on these guys for being old, But, you know,
they can only do so much.
Yeah, sometimes
now.
you can see how they try to protect these guys.
They can only do so much, so I feel that, like, it's the way, like you said, to take them out of the match without taking them out of the match.
Yeah, and I mean, and they're the tag champs, you know, so it's like, you know, we want to see a little more, but I understand. And the whole time commentary, they're just talking about that. They're like, every time he tries to get up, you know, he can't get back in. And they're barely even focusing on the in-ring action going on at this point.
They were selling it in a way. It's like, hey, he cannot come back. So, yeah.
So then eventually he makes his way back into the match after like maybe 2 minutes or so of the other guys brawling in there. And then Storm, he tags in Drake, and he really starts to work over Latimer. And then Morton tags in, hits a Canadian Destroyer onto Latimer, which, again, you know, like we always say, the Canadian Destroyer, it's not the one doing the move, it's the one taking the move that does all the work.
And everybody does that move now.
So he did that, and then Eli Drake, he comes in, he hits the Gravy Train on Storm for the win. And, you know, like I said, it wasn't that long of a match, but I felt like the right team won, because it was, like, nothing against the Rock and Roll Express. You know, like, I love those guys, but, you know, we need to see like a new team, and who better than Eli Drake and James Storm?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that is, and then I feel like you could have the wild cards in them. That could be the feud, you know,
moving forward.
Yeah, because it's like two younger teams.
Absolutely.
And it was a passing of the guard. And at the end, it was really nice because, like I said, the Rock and Roll Express, they have a show of respect. They're looking at each other, and they're like, you know, you guys earned this. And they pretty much said, like, oh, you know, we respect you. They had a little bit of talking in the ring, and then all four guys hold their hands up. So that was really cool.
And then, see, that's really cool. And like you said, for example, like the right team won. Why? Because James Storm and Eli Drake, two big names.
Yep.
You know, everybody knows who they are. You know, both of them passed with TNA, James Storm NXT, and all of that. So they needed a big name to carry those championships because, okay, for us that we love wrestling and maybe old school, yeah, we enjoyed that the Rock and Roll Express were the champions, but do you think that everybody else? Probably not.
That's what I mean. Like, it was a feel-good moment when they won, to see them coming down, you know, 60-some years old, however old they are, holding those old-school belts. You know, I have an autograph of them holding those belts from back in the day.
Yes.
So that's legit. You see that from, like, probably, like, 30 years ago. So, like, that's really cool, but, like, that's not a legit team.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That would be like if Harlem Heat came back.
Yes.
And we're like the Smackdown tag champs. Like,
yes.
really?
It's
like it might be cool to see, but you know what? I'd rather play that in the video game.
Yes.
Than have that in real life.
You just need new faces.
Yeah.
And that's what we always say, you know, give me new faces, build new stars, you know, start promoting other people.
Yeah,
Don't give me the same all.
And not that James Storm is a spring chicken or anything, but I mean, he's not 60-some years old, you know what I mean?
And like I said, and you see the name value also, because again, a lot of people know that James Storm is a tag team specialist, Beer Money, and Eli Drake. So he was actually 3 years ago, he was the main guy in TNA. So, you know, these two have like a really good run, and like you said, the feud is right there with the wild cards. So why not run with this feud?
Yeah, and Eli Drake, like afterwards,
they cut a promo, right?
Yeah, they were cutting a promo, him and Storm, and he pretty much said, you know, like, he called out all this and all that, and he's like, he's the champion, but like, you know, I'm the guy of this company, you know, and they're real behind him. I can see at some point, if they lose the belts, I could definitely see him going after
the heavyweight championship.
The heavyweight championship.
Of course, I'm telling you, Eli Drake. There were a lot of talks before that he was going to sign with WWE. They wanted him for NXT to be like the main heel over there, but I don't know what happened. Maybe negotiations came down. They didn't fall through or anything.
Who knows? NWA. Maybe that's why their roster's not deep, because the guy they have, they might be dumping all the money just to keep him.
Billy Corgan, come on, like it's all the Smashing Pumpkins tour money. So,
but then, like I said, so then they cut a little promo, you know, this and that in tag division, and like the best thing I got, like, you know, it was legit, but then James Storm at the end, because they're like, what should we call ourselves? And they're like coming up with all these different names, and like drinking buddies, and then the crowd's going crazy, and they're just coming up with all these like beer and all this like reference stuff, and then Storm goes, blood is thicker than beer and liquor. That was legit. So
that's right.
That's like, I'm excited. Like I said, the Rock and Roll Express, super legit. But this is the team that, you know, going into it, I'm like, this is who I want to win, because it just makes the most sense, and like the crowd's super behind it.
Oh yeah, like and once again, like you just need, like, for example, you already came out with a name, you already came out with a new team. It's like this is kind of like in like a very I would say minor league version of like Pete Dunne and Matt Riddle. Why? Because it's a team that like is two powerful singles guys make them into a team.
Exactly.
And now they come up with a different name, and you can see that they're getting like into this relationship of being a tag team, and they like that, and the crowd is loving it. So that, of course.
And I think all three of these teams are probably going to be in the Crockett Cup, like Rock and Roll Express wild cards, and then whatever Drake and Storm decide to call themselves if they come up with a name by then. And Nick probably could be Villain Enterprise, from Ring of Honor, and I'm sure there'll be some other Ring of Honor teams. So the tournament's going to be legit.
Oh yeah, like now that Marty Squirrel, Marty Squirrel, he's like pretty much like the owner of Ring of Honor. He could be like, okay, like you could see their partnership going back and forth. So interesting, and we will be covering it.
So then we get up to this point the best match of the show so far, the women's championship match, Allison Kay versus Thunder Rosa.
Thunder Rosa.
So this was, like I said, this was a legit match, and the crowd, they agreed with me on this because they were behind this so much. And let me just take you through it. So strong offense by Kay early on, Northern Lights suplex, swinging neck breaker for 2 on the Rosa, vertical suplex over the ropes. Rosa fights back and slows down the match. She gains control. Both women trade submissions. Kay's injured shoulder is the main story of this match. Rosa keeps wearing down her arm and shoulder. A German suplex by Kay on the Rosa, but then Rosa hits one of her own. Kay catches Rosa on the outside and powerbombs her into the apron. Rosa hits a Shining Wizard, and Kay goes for like a Deadeye almost, like what Adam Hangman Page. Yeah, Hangman Page used to do.
Your boy Page.
Yep, cowboy shit there, the new alcoholic.
Yep.
But and then she goes.
He should be drinking with James Storm.
Yeah, exactly. He should be the third man.
Yeah.
And then Rosa. When Kay goes for like that Deadeye or like, behind the back tombstone, whatever you want to call it, Rosa turns it into a Canadian Destroyer. Like we said, everybody does it, but that's fine. It's a legit.
Do something different.
Yeah. And then she goes for the octopus hold. I thought it was going to be over there because she was really yanking back on that shoulder.
Should have been done.
But Kay, it was a legit match. Kay fought back. She hits a tombstone for a near fall. That's when This Is Awesome and Fight Forever chants broke out. And then she hits, I guess this is a finisher or a signature. They call it the AK-47.
Yeah. That
she hit. So she hit that, but it was a bad cover because of her shoulder. She just kind of laid on top of her. And then Rosa kicked out. And then she tried a legit cover, but you could see she was in pain selling the shoulder. And then Rosa kicked out like a 1.5 count. Because, you're...
Because she wasn't really, pinning.
Like when you try to pin me in the game, and I kick out, then you pin again, and it's a kick out.
It's all psychology, guys. It's all psychology. Remember that. Oh, Jim Rossi said, "Oh, she didn't hook the arm." Or
that's what Stu said. He's like, "Yo, she didn't hook the leg."
Yeah, I'm saying, they always say that is because if they would have put all the force, she would have not kicked out. But they're selling it, so.
And then Rosa, she counters a suplex with a sunset flip powerbomb. And then she starts to wear down Kay some more with her, just the arm, shoulder submissions. And then she sends the champ shoulder first into the post. And then she hits, the Rose Driver?
The Rose Driver.
Yeah.
Or the Rosa Driver.
Yep, and then she hits that and for the pin. And then, even though she was the heel in this match, the crowd, that's the one thing I like about this crowd. They were real into it. And they just seemed it seems like a good atmosphere there. And it was "you deserve it" chants and all this stuff. Even though she was the heel and Rosa tried to play off the heel a little bit, she wasn't crying and being so happy and all that. But you could tell she did really appreciate all the fans and stuff.
That's the thing, and I think that also Melina came out.
Yep.
The other 2 more girls came out, right?
Yeah. Oh, what the heck is her name? Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
2 more girls came out, and then they were celebrating. But
that's the heel, the women's faction.
The women's faction that they
better
have.
than the Nightmare Collective.
The Nightmare Collective, yes. But the one thing is like you said, I think the crowd really appreciates good wrestling, so they know it doesn't matter whether she's the heel or the face. But they were really happy that she became the champion, and you and me called it when we saw her in Into the Fire. She said this girl has a lot of potential. She could be the champion. There you go. Next pay-per-view.
Yeah, and they said she's the first Mexican-born NWA
Women's Champion. And I really appreciate how, like I said, this match was so long. They give the women enough time to tell the story. Kay is really popular nowadays because she's been the one calling Tessa Blanchard out.
Yeah.
He's been saying, you've been saying all these lies, you know, like she was the one that actually was backing up Chelsea Green also.
Mm-hmm.
So there being like a lot of things when it comes to Kay, but like she's a hell of a wrestler.
Oh yeah, she's
And
super legit.
and you know, in Thunder Rosa, like we said before, like we saw the potential right there, and there you go. That could be a possibly, because see, for example, WWE is never had like a woman. There's like a Latino star.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't know. Well, Bailey has the Mexican roots, but again, Bailey.
Mm-hmm.
But Thunder Rosa,
they don't focus on
yeah,
that.
They don't get money out. They don't use that situation out. But I would say Thunder Rosa right there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go out on a limb. Not even go out on a limb. I'm just gonna say I think this was the best match of the whole show. You know, I'm going to say that this match was probably the best thing we saw.
And, you know, once again, the women are showing how much potential they have when they're treated like, you know, women's wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
So, excellent.
And then afterwards, they show a video package of just everything that was going on, the feud with Nick Aldis and Ring of Honor and stuff. So, like, when Marty came at NWA into the fire, when he showed up at the end, then, you know, Aldis, he was showing up at Ring of Honor shows, costing him matches, screwing with the Nightmare Collective, or not the Nightmare Collective, the
villain.
The Villain Enterprise.
The Villain Enterprise.
Look at that. Nightmare Collective. Get out of here. Brandy
Yeah.
Rhodes, Awesome Kong, no. Luther, get out of here.
Yeah, nope.
But anyway, so he was screwing with them, and it was, like I said, just the feud, and he's like, oh, you want to come to my house, and you want to do this, you know, I'm going to come here, and I'm going to screw with you guys, so just kind of catching everybody up with what was going on, and then, so then Marty Scurll, he does come out, and
the villain.
So he's down there, and then he's getting interviewed. He calls out Nick Aldis. He's like, you know, you're going to wrestle tonight. You're not even going to put your title on the line. He's calling him a coward. And Nick Aldis, he went from like a heel turn now, and the crowd is definitely, like I said, they're like a smart crowd. So they know they know he's legit, and, you know, I wouldn't even say it's 50-50. It's probably like 30, like 70. 30% were like, yo, yay, cheering him. And then the other 70% were like booing him. They were calling him a coward. This is Aldis, not Scurll. But when he came out, they're like, you're a coward and all this stuff. So they were agreeing with Marty here. And then, because like I said, he was calling him out. He's like, you're not putting the title on the line. Like, why are you even wrestling? You're the world's champion.
You should be defending your title every single time, and you're not doing that.
So then Aldis said, he's like, I'll put the belt on the line, but there's one condition. He said, you know, if Gordon wins, he's the champ, fair and square. But if I win, I control all business that NWA does with Ring of Honor. Nothing is booked, nothing is done unless I approve it. And he's, you know, controls all of it. And he's like, also, Marty, you can't be in the arena for this match. He didn't want no screwy, no funny business, no nothing. So Marty's like, you know what? I agree. And the crowd was like, don't do it. They're like, you don't work here. Like, they're saying, like, you don't even work here. Like, why do you have to leave? Like, who's this guy to tell you what to do? Like I was waiting for him to be like, to go up to a fan and be like, here's $200, give me your seat. And like, it was it could be a plant, or it could be a legit guy who he pays money to and just takes his seat. And it's like, you can't kick me out, I'm a fan.
Yeah, that would have been like a Jean Paul the Booker one more time. You guys see like how Jean Paul books really good stuff.
Because the crowd was like, you don't work here. Like, you don't even work here. Why is he kicking you out?
Yeah,
like,
I don't.
Yeah.
See, that's kind of like when they went a little weak. I would say like, they kind of like didn't play out really well. But see, NWA, please, Jean Paul right here. Mm-hmm. You know, free agent.
Yeah,
free agent.
We're right here.
Free agent. I mean, if I have to, like he promises we will never leave.
I said package deal.
So.
But then we get another, moving on, we get another tournament match, and this was just two big behemoths. Trevor Murdoch versus Dan Moff, and like I said, this one was short, but the offense that they got in, they probably, wish it was shorter, because these guys came out swinging like crazy.
Two tanks.
Yeah, and it was just chops, and they would chop like
Walter.
No one chops like Walter, but this was close. They were hitting each other, and they were like, come on, boom, and you heard it through the whole. I mean, it's not a big arena, but you heard it through that whole little arena.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, and Murdoch, he's all freaking red, chopped up. Like they said, he looked like a piece of raw meat.
Yeah.
And like I said, just going, and it wasn't just the chops, elbows, punches, shoulder tackles, everything. Moff hits another huge spear, and he seems to have advantage, but then he goes for a corner splash, and corner, who does something from the corner? Murdoch. So he goes for this corner splash. He counters it. He grabs Moff. Second rope bulldog. Done. But like I said, these guys beat the hell out of each other. So it was legit to see. And like the crowd, again, they're super behind Murdoch. So when he won here, they liked it. like I said, they weren't gonna have a Ring of Honor guy, like probably go all the way to the end to win it. But he had a good showing, and like I said, and just from these 2 matches, I'm like, I gotta look up highlights from this guy or something and see what he does like in his home turf.
And see, that's the thing. That's the whole goal. Is like getting people that they don't have the exposure in Ring of Honor to get some kind of light in NWA, and then people like us are going to be, this guy looks legit.
Yeah, or like you have the Ring of Honor fans who are like maybe like super loyal or just invested in that promotion. They're like, oh, we have Ring of Honor guys wrestling in this show.
We got to pay attention.
So then they watch, Hard Times, and they could be like, oh shit, look at Murdoch, or look at Aldis, or look at Starks, or look at Question Mark, or Aaron Stevens, whoever. Like they see these guys and they're like, oh shit. And then they want to watch. So that's why it's good for these
to collaborate.
Yeah,
to
like
collaborate, to
cross
promote. Yes, exactly. It's because you're benefiting. Both companies are benefiting one from the other. So once again, I'll keep saying it. AEW, New Japan, work your shit out, make it happen.
Mm-hmm. And then we get Tim Storm versus Ricky Starks, and Storm, he was supposed to have a match, but I don't know if his opponent was hurt.
That was Ken Anderson.
Oh,
okay. That was Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah, was he hurt? Did
they
say?
He got hurt like in the show, in the go home show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's why he didn't make it. So he got the advance. He advanced without even fighting.
Yeah, so the show, that was like a real interview. That wasn't, or not an interview, an injury. That wasn't like a work,
it wasn't like a work. No. Okay. I think he got injured. That's why he couldn't make it.
Okay, so
and then they just had to pretty much they didn't go with a replacement.
Yeah.
They he got the bye, and that was what it was.
So yes, and then Tim Storm, he talked about that a little bit earlier on. How he was like, oh, that's not how I want to advance. Like it's. Yeah, I mean, he was, playing face. He was like, that's bullshit. Nobody wants to win like that, but you're not.
I do.
Well, you're not face.
Because I lie, I cheat, and I steal. Anyway, go ahead.
Eddie?
Whatever you are.
And then, so like he said, but, he's here, blah, blah, blah. So, this match was pretty good. It was one of the better ones in the tournament because you had, the 2 contrasting styles. It wasn't just, 2 cruiserweights, or it wasn't 2 big guys. You had a big, old-school veteran against a more, flashy, quick-moving Starks.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the main story was the speed and quickness of Starks versus the veteran strength of the bigger Storm. Storm had the advantage early on. Anytime Starks tried to hit a move on him, something real quick, Storm would just, knock him down, and he was looking around really, who is it? Really? Like you're gonna try to do it on me? Look at me. Are you kidding? And
it's then, in the game, right? When you're trying to put a springboard move into a brick to Strowman and or you just go tackle him and then you
or when you try to pick up like you said Big Show and then your character just drops him and you're
and then the back is all dead.
So then Storm had the advantage early on. Starks was able to fire back with some chops of his own. But then again, Storm would just slow things down, the bigger, stronger man. Starks eventually hits a drop kick on the Storm, and then he went for a double stomp, and he missed it. Storm hit an STO backbreaker, followed by the Eye of the Storm, but Starks rolls through when he hits that, and then he hits a neutralizer for a near fall, and then Storm goes for the Eye of the Storm again, but then Starks is able to turn that into a crucifix pin for the 1-2-3. So, like I said, Storm, he looked good. He wasn't he got beat and, it wasn't like he hit the stroke 1-2-3. So they're still kind of protecting this guy. I wouldn't even say protecting it. Like I always say, there's a way to make people lose.
Yes.
And this was a way to make him lose. It was a quick fluke roll-up, because if it wasn't for that, he probably would have beat Ricky Starks. He had the clear advantage.
Absolutely. He actually both of them got offense onto each other. And see, like you said, the pin is a crucifix. It's not a finisher. It's hey, I just rolled you up. Hey, you were kind of tired. 1-2-3.
Yep. So, and like I said, it was a good match, and it was, at this point, I was thinking, well, Ricky Starks, he seemed like the favorite to win, because it was just, I think he's from NWA, he's like, he's not like a homegrown talent, but he's one of their guys.
Yes.
So, they're going to push that, and it was...
And just to elaborate a little more on what you're saying, see, that's one thing that, NWA is understanding how tournament should be. You're favoring the future. Mm-hmm. You're not giving it into a name that we already know.
Yeah.
It's you're promoting a new guy.
And that's
giving an opportunity to somebody new.
Yeah, all these old veterans, they're in there, and that's that's their bread and butter is NWA's old school. So they're going to bring in the old school guys, but they know that's not the future.
Yes.
Like you said, the future is who they're promoting, and that is definitely Ricky Starks. So then after that, we get Aaron Stevens versus Holla if you hear me.
Big Papa Pump.
Big Papa Pump.
Scott Steiner, baby.
So he comes out, and the crowd, I mean, how can you not? You're really hot for Scott Steiner, you know, a legend in the business, tag team, singles special, everything. So,
just the character.
Yeah, just the gimmick
alone.
Just
the gimmick alone. And like, what is it called? Like the thing that...
He wears like the chainmail on his head.
Oh, I love
it.
I love it. And holla if you hear me.
So he comes out, you know, against Aaron Stevens, and this was for the national championship.
Yes.
And is this match, you know, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't. I mean, I guess maybe I was expecting more from Scott Steiner, but I had to think, you know, he's not in the same boat as a Rock and Roll Express, but he's close. You know, the guy's old, and he can't do as much as he used to, but it was still cool to see him, and it hoped that the crowd was behind him. Like I said, the one thing I just heard, it was, because there's always in a wrestling match and all this stuff, there's always where there's that moment where the commentator's not talking, and it's just quiet for like a second or two. And in this one moment where it was quiet, you just hear this little kid, Scott Steiner! And it was like the funniest thing ever. Like, these little kids are even going crazy for him.
It's Big Papa Pump.
Cool.
It's Big Papa Pump. They know who he is.
Taking us through this match, Steiner, he took the champion, you know, he took the champ down with a body slam. Stevens rolled to the outside, and he was like, there's no way I'm beating this guy. So he rolled to the outside, the ref, you know, 1, 2, whatever. Collects himself, like, all right, goes back in, and it's the same song and dance. Steiner suplexes, slams it down. There's no way Stevens is winning. So he does the same shit, rolls back to the outside. You know, that's just this guy's gimmick. He's like a loser. Like he does that Moravian or whatever they call it, the karate.
Yeah,
and
like
it's
the chops. So
it's all this stuff. So that's just his character. He's that, like, you know, cowardly heel and all this. So he rolls out, collects himself again.
He reminds me of like the character from Dragon Ball, Mr. Satan.
Oh yeah, Hercule, yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, oh, I'm the strongest man in the whole world, and when it's time to fight, he's like, oh, chicken out, like, oh, I don't want to do it, no.
So, I mean, I agree with that 100%. That's a good reference. And then, so then he, like I said, so they repeated this a couple times, and then Stevens, he took a cheap shot, like did like the throat punch, you know, like the karate, whatever we're calling it, and then he walks into a belly-to-belly suplex, another belly-to-belly, you know. Then this point, it's like, oh, okay. I was thinking Steiner was going to win. And then Stevens, he gouged his eyes, and then he went for a pin attempt on the second rope. He, like, had his feet up top. Steiner kicks out, and then he counters with a mic check, and then he went to go apply the Steiner recliner. Well, he actually did.
He was actually, in the hole, yeah.
And then he had it, and then question mark comes down, hits him. The ref calls for the DQ. And then Stevens, he grabs his shit, and he's out of there. He's like, forget this.
He didn't want to do anything.
Because he knew Steiner was going to rip his head off. Mm-hmm. So then question mark stands in the ring, and it's like, you know, this is the reason why you didn't get your head ripped off, because your buddy, who is his underling, but also his mentor. Yes. It's like a weird dynamic they have going on. And Steiner puts question mark in the Steiner recliner, which, you know, again, I'm not going to shit on Papa Pump, but it was a weak-looking camouflage.
It looks really weak, yeah.
So he put him in that, and then so then question mark is out, Steiner gets in the ref's face, and all this, and I think he grabbed, like, the television title. Yeah. And he, like, threw down over question mark. But you think Aaron Stevens, he didn't even defend his man. he freaking took off. He got out of there.
Yeah. So maybe there might be seeds of like a tension between the two of them. Yeah. You didn't help me out. You're just checking out.
Yeah. So I think that like this will hopefully it wasn't a one-off for Steiner. Hopefully, you know, we see him a little more in here, because to me this is where he fits. If he there's no way he could do anything with WWE. He probably hates WWE.
He legit hates Stephanie. He hates Triple H.
So there's no way he's gonna go there, or NXT, anything like that. AEW wouldn't use him.
I don't think he has value in AEW.
No, so I think this is the perfect thing, that like the Ring of Honor. I'm gonna call it like the mid card 3, like Ring of Honor, Impact, and NWA. Like that's his. Like that should be his wheelhouse, his circle. He should just stay with them. And, you know, because those fans, you know, us included, want to see him. Yeah. You know, but that's the capacity we want to see him. Yeah. Because you wouldn't want to see him challenging Chris Jericho for the AEW. Oh, like, come on.
Oh, it's like you could have those kind of matches at a home. Yeah. You know, like
that would be like your dad and your uncle, like half drunk at the family reunion, like wrestling. That's the quality of that match.
So no, thank you. Like that's way past their prime. You know, I will say like Le Champion is is getting into that, the twilight zone, like when
Yeah.
he's like about to like,
Mhm.
being
2021, like Jericho is like, if he's like level, 2021 it'll start to
decline.
Yeah,
The
I'm
decline is
I'm
coming.
not saying he's gonna be like fucking Andre the Giant at WrestleMania
No.
3 bad, but
No.
it's gonna start to
Yeah, so
it's gonna start
especially
to be
put him
downhill.
with Papa Pump, then
Yeah.
come on, like no.
Yeah, that's so this match I was like, and it might just be Aaron Stevens, his cowardly style, but it kind of disappointed a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I was expecting, who Steiner was in there with when he, came to NWA. I'm like, well, whoever they put him with is going to be someone who can carry him to like a legit match, because it's going to be one people are invested in. Because there's probably some people out there who only watch this to see Scott Steiner.
Yeah.
Because he has the name value.
Yeah, exactly. It's only the name value, but yeah, it wasn't as great, but at least we got a little bit of Papa Pump.
Yeah, and then we get to probably the other two legit matches besides the women's match. We get Nick Aldis, the champion. Now he's
the
not
national treasure.
Yeah, national treasure versus Flip Gordon. So this match, like I said, it was pretty legit, but none of them were really that long. I feel like the women's match was the longest match, and to me, it was the best match.
And rightfully so.
Yeah,
because of the quality of the match that ended up being.
And nothing against like Aldis or Gordon or and the last match Murdoch and Starks, but those two women are extremely, extremely talented, so they deserved all the time they got.
You could actually use the phrase "they torn the house down."
Absolutely.
You could actually use that phrase when it comes to the women.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where watching that match, because sometimes when we watch matches, and not just women's matches, any match, it's like, oh my god, like just end, just move on. But that match, it was just like every time it was like, oh my god, is it gonna end? And then they kick out or they break out of the submission or whatever. And it's like, oh my god, like I was excited. I'm like, I didn't want it to end, and like I said, the fans fight forever.
Yeah,
like, that was the only time
you go, oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. That was the only time in this show that I clearly heard that this is awesome and fight forever chance was the women's match. So that was legit. But we already talked about that. I already gassed them up enough. So now, like I said, Nick Aldis and Flip Gordon. So take you through some of the spots. Gordon, he tries to wear down the bigger man, Aldis, early on, but Aldis, he ducks out of the ring, kind of collecting himself. The ref is leaning over the ropes like, hey, Nick, get back in here, blah, blah, blah. Gordon flips over to ref, and he takes out Aldis. And then get back in the ring, across armbar by Gordon, belly to belly by Aldis, slows things down. He starts working over Gordon. He hits a vertical suplex, and now at this point he's in full control, gets a figure four, but he grabs onto the ropes for the extra leverage, support. Ref breaks that up. Gordon fights back, sunset flip. Eventually, Aldis hits a tombstone, followed by a diving elbow, which, like we said, barely even hit him with the elbow.
Barely even hit him. And
Macho Man's turning in his grave. Oh, no.
I think he really is, because now everybody's doing the freaking move.
Yeah.
Now Elias yesterday at Smackdown, but no pun intended, we have the review right there. And now this.
Yep, check it out if you haven't already, which we know you guys did, the loyal subjects.
Thank you so much for doing that, but like everybody now does the elbow. Bailey, Punk, Elias.
Bailey's is legit. Michaels was legit.
Yeah, but at least he called it the bionic elbow. Not like this, but anyway, he barely touched him.
But then Flip fights back, gets a crucifix pin attempt, enziguri, crossface, and then 2 star-spangled stunners, kind of like similar to what Leo Rush does, but I think Leo Rush bounces off like his calf or his thigh, and the come up, I think he calls it, which is like looks cooler and it makes sense because like how short Leo Rush is, he can do that. This was more like Flip Gordon kicked off the ropes with his feet, his heels.
He bounces and then
like 2 springboard stunners kind of, which is cool.
Near fall, right?
Yeah. So near fall on them, and then up top Aldis, like Gordon. I don't know if he was trying to do like a sunset power bomb.
He was trying to go for like a sunset
or
power
something
bomb.
Like that. But then Aldis
he was trying to flip or like Canadian destroyer.
But since like Aldis was bigger, he kind of just like fell on top of him. And then got the 1, 2, 3.
Very similar. I remember how Eli Drake pinned Ken Anderson.
Yeah.
Very similar.
Oh, yeah.
Very exact. The carbon copy is Finn, end right there.
Yeah, so this match, like I said, it was good. And, Flip Gordon looked good. They weren't going to do a title change. I didn't think it was no way. If they're going to do it, that's going to be with And nothing against Flip Gordon, but it was going to be a big name like Marty Scurll. You know, you're going to do it like a big, or like a homegrown guy, Eli Drake. We said
Eli could be the Eli could be the guy. Eli could be the, or let's say for example at some point maybe like towards the end of the year Starks.
Yeah, Starks. Or I mean, you could even do something where it's like, again, I'm not the biggest fan of him, but the crowd is. Trevor Murdoch, he could be like a transitional guy. He beats Aldis, the old school, the vet, the tough son of a bitch. He beats him, and it's like, oh man, and then maybe 2-3 weeks later, like he gets beat by a heel, or something, and then it's like boom, that's how you transition it over. Like I could definitely see something like that, but like I said, I didn't think he was going to win here. And, he didn't. Aldis wins. He's still the heel champ going forward.
And now he's in control of all, like, Ring of Honor and NWA, and he controls every single operation that they go. Any business. He's the one that calls the shot, pretty much.
So that's what I mean. So now it's like Marty the villain is more like Marty the hero. He's like, because now, like, the crowd is behind him more, and it's like, Aldis is going to screw over the Ring of Honor guys. Anytime that, and obviously it's all a work and all that, but anytime that they come over, he's going to screw them over. So then Marty's going to be like, I'm sick of this, and then they might do a, promotion versus promotion thing, which that's what I want to see. Because they could book an invasion angle legit.
Yes.
And not like how WWE booked their invasion angle.
No.
They could do a legit
They could do something really cool with Ring of Honor and NWA.
Yeah, like I said, the Villain Enterprise, they all come over, you could do something really cool.
I feel it's really nice that, like, at least Ring of Honor, because for a lot of people, it's, like, probably the lowest promotion in America. They're getting some kind of, like, help from NWA, and then they get these transitions, collaborations and everything, because they lost that with New Japan. They don't have those collaborations anymore. So main event time, Mr.
So main event, we get the final match of the tournament, like I said.
For television championship.
Yep, like I said, the tough son of a bitch, Trevor Murdoch versus Ricky Starks. So this match, it was good in the sense where it was like you had the dynamic, the big, old school, tough, almost kind of like the match before that Starks wrestled against Storm. You had the big, old school, like tough guy versus the young, fast paced, and they kind of told the story here. And Starks, he eventually uses his speed to take advantage over Murdoch. They go for the test of strength. Obviously, we know how that worked out. Murdoch wins that. Yeah. Then he starts beating down Starks at ringside. Back in the ring, Starks tries to mount some offense. Doesn't get very far. Murdoch, continues to beat down in the ring. Sends him to the outside again. Starks tries to fight back. But with tremendous strength, he's able to power him up, and he hits a sit-out powerbomb for a near fall.
That was a cool match.
That was cool.
And that was so much better than Roman.
Yeah,
that was so much better. I actually was rooting for Starks to...
And then speaking of Roman, hits a spear for a 2 count. And then he went for... Or I think before he hit the spear or the sit-out powerbomb, he went for the finisher. The stroke, but he wasn't able to hit that. And then he hit the powerbomb, the spear... A little bit more back and forth, but then eventually he's able to hit the stroke, and he gets the pin, and becomes the NWA television champion.
We have a brand new...
Yep, inaugural, you could say, from the new...
Yes.
Yep.
Inaugural television champion, Rick Stars. He's I think he's legit. He was the right man because you're building a star.
Exactly.
And you're building your title with a new star. So I think it's a good formula, especially because it's bringing eyes to everybody that is watching.
And the way that, like, at least wrestling has been for the last, I want to say at least 30 so years, probably even longer, like 30, 40 years, that mid-card title has always been a more athletic guy's title.
Yes.
You go back to the days like the IC champ, like that was Macho Man, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. You had... Like Mr. Perfect,
you had
Bret Hart,
yeah.
Like
Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, that wasn't given to like the Hacksaw Jim Duggins and or guys like that, the Sergeant Slaughters. Like they weren't like the ones who were the IC champs. They were the heavyweight champ because they were not just from the name they were heavyweight, but like wasn't the working man the athletic title.
Yes, absolutely.
And I feel like that's the same thing here. You have, you do have the national title, but that's like. Aaron Stevens, like the Coward,
It's like the European title.
Yeah. So that's what that. But then this television title, again, it's like the name suggests it's supposed to be like defended on television and all that stuff. So hopefully we see like a lot of title defenses on NWA Power, And with as many defenses as it's probably going to have, more than the heavyweight championship, you need a guy who can put in that work.
Yeah.
So that's why it's made sense to go with the younger.
So with a younger Rick Stars, I think. Yeah, and we're looking forward for the next pay-per-view that's going to be in April. So we'll be covering
Cup.
one.
Yep, I'm excited.
It's going to be good tag teams, like you said. Probably a few more tag teams from Ring of Honor, because the relationship between the two companies is going to still happen, and we're going to see what Marty is going to say, what what things are they going to do.
And the cool thing, there's a couple months yet, 2.5, 3 months, so it's like they can sign more people to NWA, and be like, hey, we have this cup. Like, look at the numbers our pay-per-views did. Look at all the buys on Fight TV. Look at all the views NWA Power. People are going crazy about it. I don't see anything bad when I'm on the internet, whether it's Facebook groups, Twitter, wherever. I don't see anybody going, oh, NWA Power sucks. And everybody is behind it. Everybody supports it.
And it's growing, probably organically, there's not a lot of buzz.
Yeah.
But the buzz is, enough to generate, people's interest.
Yeah, the only negative thing that came out was with Jim Cornette.
Yeah.
When he made that comment, and then people were, upset about that.
With Murdoch.
Yeah, but then they did the right thing. They said, hey, you know what?
Thank you, you said that, whatever, get out of here.
But I mean, not to go into that too much, the only thing I'll say is, with Jim Cornette, you got to know what you're getting into.
Yes.
There's no way that you can tell this guy, hey, you got to be PG, you got to keep it clean, we know how you are, but keep it clean. There's no way. He'll slip up. I agree with what he says with his old school way of booking, but Jim Cornette is the way he is, so, you knew what you were getting yourself into by
that's pretty much the best way to define that, the best way to explain it is just, you knew what you're getting yourself
into. Yeah, and I'm not agreeing with anything he said in that regard, but, with NWA, their shows aren't live. They don't have the freaking camera there, and they click go live on YouTube and record.
Yeah.
It's pre-recorded. Jim Cornette said this, all you would have had to do was just mute it. And then if people are like,
edit it.
And then you could have did something back instead of facing the backlash. And then you could have been like, Jim, you can't say that shit. If you say this again, you're done.
It's done. Yes.
So that's like.
It's like, can you please rephrase yourself? Well, don't be saying those things. But like you said, Cornette's probably thinking about mentality 20 years when everybody wasn't as soft as you guys. A lot of people is nowadays. But
Yeah. So with all that being said, NWA. They're growing organically, like Juan said, they're growing, and it's good to see. So I think they'll have a lot more talent come April, so they can even have maybe their own tag teams. Like we said earlier about the Dusty Cup. They could just be some single stars who aren't really doing too much can form tag teams to be in this cup. And they'll probably bring in a bunch of Ring of Honor guys. So I'm really looking forward to it. And we're going to cover it right here on the channel.
We will be covering because that's what we do. Exactly. And that's what we do best. Mm-hmm. Best than a lot of people in the community. So I think that wraps up the whole show.
Yeah, like I said, it was a great show. Into the fight, it's hard to say which was better because, like I said, I really enjoyed this women's match. Even though it wasn't the greatest thing, holla if you hear me. Big Papa Pump is still legit. Both these pay-per-views were really solid. Of course, they weren't better than a takeover or anything, but they were solid pay-per-views.
For what it is, you got your money's worth.
Absolutely. For the $20 you pay, it's legit.
For what it is, yeah. So, and I think that once again, they keep generating some buzz, is getting better, and a lot of people are getting behind that. And once again, we have another option for wrestling, and that's what we love, having options. Just remember, 2 years ago, we didn't have any of this. No. It was either WWE. Or pretty much WWE, and if you just wanted to explore Impact.
Your I was gonna say you had Impact, or your options were you're gonna hate yourself for watching
WWE,
for watching main roster.
Yeah.
You could have been smart and do what a lot of people were doing and just watch NXT.
Yes. So.
Or if you didn't want to watch WWE as a whole, like you said, you had the Ring of Honor Impacts, or you had New Japan.
New Japan and something.
I mean, that was pretty much
But
it.
now, everything is given
or
for
AAA.
Us. Yeah, but everything is given now to us. Is the access to all this content is a lot easier. So we all as fans are enjoying it. So just guys, don't forget to please hit that subscribe button right there. For all the content right there, and the bell also for no notifications. We're always posting.
Yeah, we had 10 uploads. Just think, if you had the bell on, ding 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 ding.
And
ding.
we have
I don't know if that was 10 dings, but it was close enough. So boom. 10 uploads.
It was great, and don't forget we have the Facebook page also, Road Break. We have the OG Road Break on Twitter, and we have also on Instagram, Original Road Break, where all our content results right away. You know, from when the action is taking place, right there is everything, all the information. So in the name of Jean-Paul and myself, we want to say we will be right here, right back for Worlds Collide. We're just waiting for that. It's going to be a great showing.
Oh, I'm excited.
And you and me want to say,
Adios.